Hi guys, after 1 month of owning the Mark III Audi TTRS, I thought it was about time to give you all a review and see how I've gotten on with it. So, let's get to it. I've owned the Audi for just over a month now and done nearly 1,000 miles, so I feel like I've really gotten to grips with it and dug a bit more beneath the surface and a bit more realistic as well than when you just get a car for an hour. Let's start off with the facts and figures. Audi is far from boring in terms of facts and figures, and for this car we have a 2.5 litre turbocharged 5-cylinder engine which sounds incredible. It's given 394 brake horsepower, but it's rounded up to a really nice 400 PS. And it's also given 354 pound-feet of torque. 0 to 60 is stated by Audi as 3.7 seconds. However, lots of different people like Evo Magazine, Top Gear, etc. have done tests of this because they've managed to get anywhere up to 3.4 seconds. So I think Audi have actually been a little bit pessimistic with that, because even launching this myself, 0 to 60 does feel that bit faster. In terms of weight, it's sitting in at 1,515 kilograms, and it's quite a bit lighter actually than the Mark II. It's also 26 kilograms lighter than the RS3, one of its main rivals, because you've got the same engine, same Quattro system, but you've got one as a hatchback, one as a 4-seater little sports car. Now, the Mark III seriously upgraded its Quattro system. This car has an incredible torque vectoring system that can really sort of pin you around those corners, and it also means now it's a lot more flexible. So in comfort mode, you can put it technically more front wheel drive, it's more front biased, and then when you go into auto or dynamic, it switches to send a bit more power to the rear, which I think is really nice because you're not stuck in that one job fits all kind of thing. You actually get the variety for it. Audi's always been criticised for making quite driverless cars. I mean, because the Quattro system is so good, it can often go against them because you've not got the rear moving out of shape. In the TT, you haven't got heaps of understeer. You put your foot down, you go, and it just does what it's meant to do, which in terms of speed, in terms of kind of being a good driver, is what you want. But then, are we missing the element of being a better driver? We all know that 400 PS, brake horsepower, whatever, is going to put a smile on your face regardless. The 5-cylinder Audi engine is just spectacular. I don't think any other engine can compare to it, and especially in this price range. It sounds incredible. This has just got the standard exhaust and it still sounds really good. I think it just lacks that little crackle at the end of lifting off. But DSG farts, the best thing in the world. I absolutely love them. I think they're so much better than pop and bangs. And this, when you go over that 4,000 revs, it's just brilliant. In terms of the gearbox, we do get Audi's 7-speed dual-clutch S-tronic transmission. It can be a little bit laggy sometimes, but it's only really when it's in comfort. As soon as you whack it into sport or put it into manual, it does exactly what you want it to do. And the same said for the engine. Anything under kind of 3,500 revs, you wait in that second. So if you're looking to really be hooning it, either make sure you've got the gearbox in sport, or if you're in manual, make sure you know what gear you're in and you've got it at the right place, because sometimes you'll be waiting for that lag before you'll then absolutely fly like a bullet. Now, my favourite thing about this, and the thing that shocked me completely, was the launch control. In this, it's super easy to do. All you do is pop it into dynamic, make sure the gearbox is into sport as well, turn the traction control off, left foot on the brake, rev it up. It sits to about 3,500 revs. Lift that left foot off and off you go.
So does it get mum's seal of approval?
This one in particular doesn't have Audi's magnetic dampers, and to be honest, I wasn't too fussed over the price because I've heard they can come with a lot of issues. But even the standard dampers and standard suspension on this isn't as nasty as I thought it would be. I mean, even the Hyundai i30M was a lot more rough than what this is. Granted, at slower speeds, if you're going over a pothole, you are going to feel it, but you don't feel like you're going to break your back during it. You can get out of the ride with these gorgeous quilted seats and feel refreshed almost. You're not feeling like you've just driven 4 hours. You actually feel quite refreshed, which is a nice feeling. And Audi's always gone above and beyond with the interior. I mean, the quality. I think out of all the competitors, BMW, Mercedes, maybe even Porsche to a degree, this interior just wins it for me. Everything is incredibly driver's focused. Obviously the screen is just directly in front of the driver. It means you're not taking up any windscreen space. You can do everything at the control of your wheel. You can make calls, you can change your song, you can check your MPG, you've got your speed nice and big in front of you, even down to your power and torque. And when you've got navigation on as well, it's all there in front of you. You don't have to take your eyes off the road for too long. The best thing as well is the steering wheel. It is taken from the R8. So you've got that gorgeous red button, which I think sold the TTRS over the TTS for me. Well, it does make it something that's really special. You've almost got these fighter pilot air conditioning system with all the buttons look really plush. You've not got too much to distract you away. And I really like that. It's quite simple, elegant, but really good quality. Let's talk about price a little bit. So you can pick one up now in current market for under 40,000, about its 2016 plate with fairly low mileage really. And I just can't think what other car you can get this performance from for less than 40 grand. I mean, you've got the OG M2s, but I think to compare to a TTRS, you're looking at maybe a competition, which is a lot more expensive. Porsches again will be a lot more expensive. You'd be looking at something like a Cayman GT4, 70 grand plus. And even this has been compared to some of the older R8s. This is quicker than a lot of the older generation R8s. Granted, the V10 will obviously be far ahead. But it's even spoken that Audi had to detune this engine to what they wanted because you couldn't justify them spending an extra, God, my maths isn't even there. I think from new it was an extra like 80 grand to be getting an R8 when you can have all that performance and more for a third of the price. But we're currently living in July 2022 where fuel prices are the highest they've ever been. And a lot of people question what these cars will actually do miles per gallon. Audi does state it can do 34.4 mpg in combined conditions, and I believe it's 42 with the extra urban or whichever one that is. So for performance car figures, it's quite reasonable. But what's it like in real life? We've done an average of 46.5 miles per gallon over 177.8 miles. I am so impressed. Are you buying a car like this to drive like a granny? No. But if you're sat on a motorway for 3 hours, do you really want to be stopping, starting? Most people will stick it on cruise. There's speed cameras everywhere, so you stick to the speed limit. There's no messing around, and you just relax. And this car did that, and actually got some good figures out of it. However, on the other hand, when you do get to those country B roads and your right foot is just twitching to press on the accelerator, your miles per gallon will dramatically drop. I think Audi came out with the Mark III to really shake off that whole hairdresser's vibe, because even now you post a video of a TT and everyone's like, oh, you've got a hairdresser's car, and I'm like, I can't cut hair for the life of me, but let me put my foot down and show you what it does. So they really did do that. The looks of them, they're less bubbly. I mean, the Mark ones are absolutely adorable, but they do look very bubbly, very rounded, not very mean. The Mark II kind of improved that a bit. They did squish it as such. And then the Mark III, they thought, right, scrap this. We're going with an R8 vibe, but just looks a lot fatter. And if you look at the TT, that's exactly it. It looks like an R8 that's been squished this way, and all the extra squishiness has gone up. And that's exactly how it looks. And I think it looks great because you have got the extra 2 seats. They don't really count, let's be honest. They're more extra storage capacity. But you've got that extra room. That means you're basically in a daily R8 and a more practical R8. And I don't see what people's issue is with that.
And when it comes to space in the TT, this is just how big the boot is.
Oh, stop. And they've made a car that can perform all round. You can use 100% of power 100% of the time. They've made it so you can maximise every little inch of this car. I've been tempted to track this so far. I'm thinking about it because I want to see what you can really do, because on the roads you can't go fast enough to experience these dual feelings people say. You do feel how you can just pin it out of a corner, and I feel especially with the TT you don't get as much understeer as I was expecting. The Quattro system works incredibly well, but I'd be really intrigued to take this on a track as it is, really push it, feel what it's like. I've tracked BMWs and stuff before, so I'd like to see the difference. But the only thing that's concerning me at the moment is the brakes. We've got to remember this is a 1.5 ton car with 400 horsepower, and if we're coming up to a corner and we need to stop dead, it does worry me on standard brakes. They have got 8-part steel disc fronts, which are massive, but they're quite expensive, that if I do end up burning through them in one day, it makes it a very expensive day. One of the greatest things about this car is anybody, maybe not Doris the grandma, but nearly anybody can drive this car and have fun with it because it is so safe. And you really have to make a crazy mistake to make this kick out at you. And I think that's why sometimes the TTs get a preconception of being a female car, and it's quite frustrating because maybe that is a little bit true, because I think because women can be very often intimidated by the automotive industry and the car culture, that this is quite a good car that they can actually really install some trust into. I mean, I know people are like, oh, power isn't safety and all that jazz, but actually it can be. I mean, let's say for example we're following little old Doris driving along 40 and a 60. We then know that I can put my foot down enough to get past Doris safely. To conclude my 1 month getting used to and having the TTRS as my car, and a little bit of a review of how I found that and the good parts, the bad parts. I mean, overall it is a really solid car and I don't really have any complaints. I mean, there's little niggles here and there, but it's nothing that's going to scare you away from this car at all. And I think that really says it all. I'm really impressed with this car, and I'd recommend it to anyone looking at one. They are very easily modifiable. I mean, I'd love to get brakes set up, full suspension set up, get the engine tuned, and really make this into a track beast. So whether that happens or not, we'll see what my bank balance says. But this is basically a baby R8, a third of the price. You will not find better performance for the money than you will with something like this. So I'm really happy I made this decision, because I can still daily it and not be breaking my back at the end of it. Maybe breaking my bank with the current fuel prices, but that's a different story. So you guys know the drill. To make my journey your journey, like, follow, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.